I just don't see how anybody, when looking
Don't you think it's entirely possible or easily possible? So like, I feel like there's like so many things wrong with this.
What?
So one is, why wouldn't competing record labels start pushing talent that's actually popular that people want to hear?
My question is, why are you playing devil's advocate?
Yeah.
What do you think? You made a mention that this might be an indicator to things that have happened with Black culture. What do you mean by that, I guess?
So there has been just a very obvious corrosion in Black culture. Like the music that I grew up in, I was listening to The Temptations, Lauryn Hill, like it was all about like family, love. It was real talent. And then something just really shifted and it all became about derogatory, debased gangster rap. And it's the change that I've noted in a lot of my commentary. And, you know, I think other people have, like I asked the question, there's a really, in my view, disgusting artist, just in terms of the stuff that she publishes and the photos that she publishes, named Sexy Red, who they're now making a thing, right? Who makes the decision to sign a Sexy Red? You're telling me you have all the money and all the talent at your fingertips, and you sign a woman who, at her baby shower, 9 months pregnant, however pregnant she was twerking and had her butt cheeks in, like somebody's face was inside of her butt cheeks. That to me is very intentional, because you're not signing her based on talent. You're not signing her based on following.
Honestly, when it comes to that type of stuff, I think it's all about the attention. They look at her situation and they say she gets the most views or she has a fan base. I really think it's like that. And money, I guess money is everything. I don't know. They like the attention she draws. She has a fan base and they say, oh, we can make money off of her.
You're signing her because it's filth, and you're perpetuating this filth into my community. So it's just something that I've noticed, something I talk about often, that we're intentionally being sold crack, it feels like, you know.
So I'm trying to think of which direction I want to go.
Any direction you want. I'm an open book.
Yeah, you're fine. There are like two kind of different ways of viewing this. And I feel like you fall more to one side and then I'll go my side, and then we can kind of see if we can iron out or figure where we are at, I guess, in the middle here. I feel like when you look at the evolution of, when we say like degenerate Black culture or degenerate Black music, I think we're generally talking about like the beginning of hip hop and rap, and then kind of the evolution of that going forward, coming away from like the R&B singers and everybody like in the 50s, 60s, 70s, or whatever, right?
Yeah. But hip hop isn't always filth. But yeah, I get your point.
But that seems like
we're
the general.
generalizing.
Yeah. It feels like when I look at music, or if I look at music that people create, oftentimes the music is a reflection of their circumstances. And you can see, especially as America and the Black communities became more conscientious maybe of the ghettos that they'd been kind of pushed into, or the policing situations that they'd had to be a part of, or drugs destroying their communities, et cetera, et cetera. And then those people turning to crime, that you also see the music and the art kind of reflect those conditions. And then those pieces of art that get created, especially the music, end up being like worldwide popular. Like
I get what you're trying to say, bro, but how does Sexy Red reflect our conditions? Nah, bro. I get what you're trying to say, but that's not what's happening here.
Most popular genre of music in the world is like hip hop and rap. So when I look at people pushing certain stuff today, I'm like, okay, well, we got two really big, in my opinion, I went to school for music, I don't know if you talk about the saxophone or whatever, so we had two really big contributions to the world of music from America. One was jazz, that came basically from the Black community, and then the second was like rap and hip hop. These forms of music become popular, people see that it's popular, they want to get involved. Obviously, the money men, the people on top, they want to kind of continue to push this because it's popular, and everybody around the world consumes it. I feel like there are a lot of market forces at work that kind of perpetuate this and keep this happening. And that feels pretty satisfying to me to explain what's going on. So when we ask, like, why is it a woman twerking with somebody's face in her butt cheeks? Because, well, for whatever reason, that's like what the worldwide culture seems to want to see right now. And then on the other side, it feels like from people, I don't want to just say conservatives, but I would say broadly speaking, I guess I'll say on your side in general, it feels like there's this idea that there's this much more intentional or like malevolent force working behind the scenes.
Yes, there is. And so I'm going to push back on what you're suggesting here. You're suggesting that this is
Bro, I get what he's trying to say. I really do. I understand. The problem I have with that is that when you look at an artist like Sexy Red, and I'm just using her as an example. I'm not even going to use her. You look at that genre of music, that specific genre of music that's very sexual and promiscuous. It would be different if maybe they had their own fan base, they were doing their own thing, but that's not what's happening. She's one of the biggest. I have to use her. She's one of the biggest artists out right now that is a woman. And that's the problem. She is like the one of the biggest. That's the issue. It's not the fact that the genre exists or that people listen to it. It's the fact that it's such a big thing and she is such a member of the culture, and that's a problem.
Reflects the community, and they're sharing their stories in a way that makes sense. That's completely not true. Okay, WAP does not reflect the circumstances that Black people are living in. You know, singing about your vagina and how hard it's getting pounded is not the circumstance of living in the hood. I come from nothing. It's not that did not make me feel closer to the circumstances that I grew up in. And unfortunately, that's actually what people are telling Black Americans. Like, actually, it's working the other way. You're putting something, you know, your eyes and your ears are the windows to the soul, and you're basically, when you celebrate someone, and I'm using Cardi B here as an example because I think people are probably more familiar with her than they are with Sexy Red. When you put someone like that on the Grammys stage, which is, again, a decision being made. When I was growing up, the best, most talented people were on the Grammy stage. It was something you could watch with your family. And you still had poor people. You still had, you still had poor people. You still had people that were living in the hood. Okay, we didn't need somebody talking about their vagina in order to feel seen. So what you're doing is you're setting the stage for younger girls who aspire to celebrities to say, okay, well, if I mimic that behavior, I too can become famous. What you're actually doing is you're setting the idols.
That's facts. Because in Sexy Red, she's just an example, or she's just a talking point, but she's not the first to do this. She's just the biggest name right now. But she's not the first. You had many before her, and it's getting perpetuated even more right now, to where a lot of artists are going that direction just to be seen or just to be famous. It would be different if it was like one thing, like, oh yeah, that genre exists. No, it is one of the biggest ways to be famous in music right now. And that's our culture.
That people are going to look up to, and people are going to think this is what I should aspire to. So it's actually working in the exact opposite way.
Can I ask a question? In that like evolution of things, so if we look at like WAP in particular, hasn't it generally been the case that music is always kind of pushing these sexual boundaries? So it might have been Elvis grabbing his crotch and dancing. It might have been Michael Jackson's dancing is incredibly suggestive, if you've seen that. It might have been in Woodstock, all the loser hippies talking about love, sex, and rock and roll and drugs. Wouldn't like WAP just be kind of like the next evolution in a long chain of...
pushing boundaries is not degeneracy, okay? And so here's what I'll say to you. Why don't you pull up the lyrics to WAP and read them right now?
Well, I don't. Why would I need to do that?
Oh, it's just Woodstock. We're just pushing the boundaries a little bit. You probably have never even read the lyrics to WAP.
I think I did, because I think Ben Shapiro had a huge thing about it.
He couldn't have said. You may have seen him reading the sanitized version of WAP, not the one that is not sanitized. Like the sanitized one, which is still bad, that she can perform at the Grammys, is what he read. You should read the lyrics to WAP.
And one thing about that, like, I remember when that song first came out and they tried to play it on the radio, and they still try every now and again, but you had to basically write a whole different song because it was so inappropriate that there's literally no way you can play it on the radio, which is surprising that it was performed on a televised award show, because I don't even understand how you can play that song in public. I'm not even gonna lie. I don't understand why that song was created. But it's popular. Anyways, when they tried to play it on the radio, it was almost as if it was a completely different song, because every single word was different, because it was so inappropriate and so vulgar that they couldn't even put it on public stations.
Before you make commentary that it's a reflection of what Black Americans are living through, or it's just somebody that's pushing a boundary, it's not that.
How do you explain the fact that like WAP was like a #1 like worldwide hit then?
Because what I said to you is that they are artificially creating artists at this point. There's no question. And by the way, the Diddy docs, which I found to be a very compelling point, was that Diddy said to the guy, allegedly, who was the producer, that if he was willing to engage in homosexual behavior with him, that he would get him Producer of the Year Grammy. Okay, so what does that tell you? It means that the entire system is artificial. And by the way, this is something that Kanye said 10 years ago, or however long ago it was, when he took the trophy from Taylor Swift and said, like, this is all fake. This is not even based on merit anymore. And that is my point. The industry is not based on merit. It's not based on capitalism. It is based on selling ideas. So it is, who do we want to artificially make the person that every black girl will look up to, or who they will aspire to? And
so I can definitely understand that, like, maybe award shows can be rigged, or people can think different things about, you know, who's being awarded based on merits for the Grammys or something like that. But like, WAP was genuinely, do you think it wasn't genuinely a popular song, or do you think that music execs have the ability to manufacture that desire publicly?
The latter. So if you start playing something tons of times on the airways, and the latter, you can definitely make something popular. There are songs that I don't even like, that I've heard so much that I know every single lyric to. And I'm like, I don't even know how I know every single lyric to.
Nah, that's facts. Like, when a song wants to be pushed, we're not kids. We're not kids. We know when something wants to be pushed. Let's be honest. The question is, why do they want to push this? That's the subjective part. It being pushed is not subjective. That's just life. That's business. But it's funny to see Candace Owens explain these type of things and how it's hurting the black community. Because in my eyes, it's obvious, because it's life. Like, I see it happening in my day to day. But when I see him trying to defend the song WAP, or defend degeneracy within our community, it's just, I take that back. Maybe he's playing devil's advocate. I don't know.
To the song, but it's received this many plays. You put it everywhere. You award the person. You invite them to bizarre circumstance. Like, there's absolutely no reason that Cardi B is invited to sit down and ask questions to Joe Biden.
So
in no scenario, unless you are really making an effort to legitimize this person and to make this person aspirational. Again, this is not an insult to Cardi. I actually think that personality-wise, she's got a ton of talent, and she's interesting, and I've said great things about her on Love and Hip Hop, and there are elements of her that make her a star. But what I am saying is that a lot of that is manufactured, and I just don't see how anybody, when looking.
Don't you think it's entirely possible, or easily possible? So, like, I feel like there's like so many things wrong with this. So one is, why wouldn't competing record labels start pushing talent that's actually popular, that people want to hear? I think that would be a big question. A second thing would be, how can we explain the top-down domination of this type of media popularity through all of our reality TV shows, all of our TikTok stuff, all of our YouTube videos, and the music industry? And then how can you explain that all happening worldwide?
Sure.
Like, it feels like that to try to explain this through people that are exercising control on these platforms would require more control than anybody has ever been able to exercise on any platform ever, and they're doing it like on a multi-country, multi-stage level.
It's just called, it's very easy actually. It's a very basic concept pertaining to governments. They need propaganda. Hollywood is propaganda. You should, for those of you that are watching this live, go listen to the conversation that Joe Rogan had with Cat Williams, where he talked.
Okay, I think he's playing devil's advocate, but my question is, why are you playing devil's advocate? It's okay. Maybe it's his brand. I'm not going to question what he does on his channel. But what she's saying isn't really that subjective. They are hurting our community through music, because it's not like Cardi B or Sexy Red are just black artists. These are some of the pinnacle of black artists right now, where they are unfortunately role models for a lot of our young people. And I'm not saying a young woman can't become a music artist, of course, but it's different to where we have a majority of young women listening to this stuff day in and day out, and that's an issue. But if you have any more suggestions, or you want to see the rest of this video, it's on Destiny's page. Check him out. Or if you want me to watch it, leave a comment below and I can do a part 2. But it's LFR Jojo, and I'll see you on the next one.